You're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Thank you, my good brother, Amoru Sanda. Am I speaking to Amoru Sanda?
Yes, Umaru Sanda speaking to Raphael Kofi.
You are a mentor to so many of our children, so keep it up.
Thank you so much. I have a punk, though, by the way.
Your punk is not so much. You are an adult, so you can use it. But as a child, we will not allow.
Okay, but I noticed, and I mentioned punk because I noticed that your statement did not mention the word haircut, even though you kept talking about uniform. You talk about you mentioned a lot of things, but the subject matter of debate now is that
I mentioned it.
Oh, really? I haven't seen it.
I mentioned it. Maybe you didn't look at it.
No, I'm reading it. I did a casual read.
It's captured. Look at the B, parental perspectives and concerns.
B, parental. So school parents entrust schools with not only academic education but also character development, which includes proper dress codes by students, such as neatly and well prescribed attire and footwear, always decent haircuts as prescribed by school authorities.
Has it been captured?
Yes, and in continuing, says such haircuts should be clean, neat, and modest, and should avoid extremes in styles and colors. The question is that why should a person's hairstyle matter in classroom?
Why shouldn't it matter, my brother? Let me state this unequivocally. As a National Council of PTA, we wholeheartedly support the directive by the minister. But the truth of the matter is that this is not a novelty. It's something that has been with us over the years. And you and I, when we were schooling, we knew that, yes, anybody below the age of 18 is not seen as an adult. So you need to go through some regimental controls. And for that matter, when you read the 1992 Constitution, Chapter 5 of the 1992 Constitution talks about fundamental human rights. But Section 14, Clause 1E, states as follows. Section 14, Clause 1. Now, every person shall be entitled to his personal liberty, and no person shall be deprived of his personal liberty except in the following cases and in accordance with procedure permitted by law. And the procedure permitted by law is justified in 14.1e. That for the purpose of education or welfare of the person who has not attained the age of 18 years. So most of the students at the pre-tertiary level are students who have not attained the age of 18 years. And for that matter, they need to go through prescribed training and code of conduct as students.
Okay, someone has sent a message that he wanted me to read out to Musa. Unfortunately, Musa is not on the line, so let me read it to you, and I'm sure you can also answer it. It says, please tell Musa, and that's a GNAT General Secretary, to groom the kids on how to manufacture a moving airplane rather than dressing. This mentality will not develop Ghana. How do you respond to critics like this?
Well, we are not training children to only become experts in manufacturing of crafts and whatever. We are also training them with proper character development and also for them to be in tune with our African culture and Ghanaian identity. It's part of the training. So there's nothing wrong with it. And you see, when you read our National PTA Constitution, for the purpose of this discussion, let me just read some excerpts of our National PTA Constitution. It talks about discipline and character formation. That the NCPTA Constitution per Article 2, Section 1, A, B, and C, speaks about the purposes of the National PTA, in common with those of the regional branch and the school-based branches as follows. To promote the general welfare of school-going children or wards in their homes, educational institutions, communities, and places of worship. To raise the standard of home life through effective early childhood upbringing, and to secure adequate laws for the care and protection of students and people. Can you imagine we allow any child going to school to wear any uniform or just wear anything casual and get to the school? When something happens in the school or there's confusion, how will you be able to identify the child with a particular school? If we allow anybody to just put anything as nails and get to the school, wouldn't they hurt each other? So these issues that we are discussing is towards the safety and identity of schools. Okay. Of our students, and also the cultural sensibility and balance that we try to acknowledge. Our cultural diversities are there, but emphasis on dress codes enforcement should balance the respect for cultural expression and the need for maintaining appropriate educational standards in line with Article 14.1e of the Constitution of Ghana and Article 2, Section 1 of the National NPTA Constitution.
How do you balance this position of yours with the position of the court that Tyrion Magai was allowed to go to school with his dreadlocks, and also the fact that a lot of the countries we look up to don't really give They don't care. They don't care about the dress code and hairstyle you go to school. I just returned from New York. I saw students enter the school bus. They were not wearing any uniform, but they went to school and came back anyway. How do you marry that?
Thank you. So the New York advanced democracy, if we study the time they started practicing democracy and now, we are two different extremes. The level of technological advancement in New York, the level of systems in the school environment there and our school environment, there's a vast difference. It's difficult for you to commit crime there. But in our environment here, people can do, the schools don't even have any proper facilities and all those kind of things. So we are expecting to do the two different extremes. And you need to look at the situation and situate laws that favors your situation. So that is my first point on that. Secondly, I want to re-echo and reinforce the fact that promoting discipline, dress codes are part of broader efforts to cultivate discipline essential for academic success and personal growth. Most of the schools in Ghana now, we just celebrated Mauli Secondary School's 75th anniversary. Most of the schools that have become the model of academic excellence at the pre-tertiary level, and then most of our students want to attend to those schools. They want to attend to those schools because those schools have kept certain best standards of practice and behavior that has made them carve a niche for themselves that everybody wants his child or his ward to go to that place. And we need to do it for the other places across board. So we are just pleading, and we are saying that in situations like what has happened with the dreadlock issue, I always say that it's like the story of Samson and Delilah. Samson's strength was in his hair. Am I right?
Continue.
Tomorrow.
Continue.
Samson's strength was in his hair. So if there's a justification that, for these purposes, maybe for medicinal purposes or for medical purposes, somebody needs to wear a lens to be able to learn, there's nothing wrong with it. If somebody's hair, there will be enough justification, maybe spiritual or whatever justification, to show that if that thing is taken off, it will make the person disadvantaged not to learn. Then we can look at it, because to every rule there are exceptions. But the general standard of behavior and conformity, we should all stick to it. As a journalist in your studio, you don't, excuse my language, you don't just dress anyone and go to the studio. They prepare you for the studio. There's a dress code. There's a way you need to put yourself. Even the voice you use, there's a voice for radio. And you need to have that voice to be able to do the honorable thing to make City FM get the niche, keep on with the niche, and then carve the brand that it has carved for itself.
Very well.
So we are saying that when they are students, let's see them as students and deal with them as students. When they are at the tertiary level and decide to dress the way they want to dress, even that one, I've been told that the UPSA has even prescribed dress codes. So if those who want to discuss those can look at it from that perspective.
Thank you. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Raphael Kofi Gapson is General Secretary of the National Council of Parent-Teacher Association. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 about the Ghana Education Service in the past. Michael Nsua, he was DG of the Ghana Education Service. Sir, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Thank you.
The conversation is back again about the dress code, except that this time we are focusing on the hairstyle. The minister has said it would not happen where children will come to school in the hair that they like. There's been lots of people criticizing that. There's also been lots of people supporting that. The NAT just spoke to me and say they support the minister 100%. Where do you stand on these conversations here?
Where I stand, very simple. If the children make hair or weave onto their colleagues, hairdo that is the fashion in vogue, I don't see anything wrong with that.
So if a child comes to school with dreadlocks, with Ponky Joe, like the one I have on my head now, you allow that? You don't mind?
No, I don't mind, because in the long run, you want the children to practice some hairstyles that are in vogue. So why should I be worried about hairstyles that they have discovered?
So I just spoke to the NAT secretary. He says, just like we fought against Otofista in the past and fought against Apus Keleke he considers this also similar and must be fought. Now, he holds the view that teachers are supposed to groom children when they are brought before them, and the grooming includes courtesy for boys and girls and includes dressing well. If you hold the view that the hair is in vogue, let them wear it, which means they could come to class with colored hair, for instance. You don't mind if they spray their hair green or orange or yellow and come to class?
No, I don't mind, provided it's what you said. There's a difference between hair dye and
cutting it.
But
difference between dyeing the hair and cutting it.
Yeah. If you are dyeing the hair, that's a different matter. So, if you are cutting the hair,
so
it's because you want a hair to be at a certain level.
If you have a grandchild now who is going into secondary school, you would not ask her or him to go to the barbers before going to school on their first day.
If I want the child to go to the barbers, then I want maybe the difference between the hair that is overgrown or a hair that is not
okay. One more question before you go, sir. The conversation around using the local language in the community to teach children, do you agree with that as well?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for speaking to us, sir.
Okay.
Mike Nsoa is a former Director General of the Ghana Education Service, giving us his own views too on this debate that is ongoing. Do I have some comments here that I can share? Okay, because he's a General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, GNAT. Let's see how much information they have on this and what involvement they would be providing. Mr. Musa, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Thank you. Good evening to you and to all your listeners.
Good evening to you. This idea of using local language to as a medium of communication when teaching, at least in the lower primary school, as has been clarified by the government, were you involved in discussions getting to this?
So thank you very much. It is important to explain this particular policy, and that it did not start today. It has been there for so many decades now, and there is a reason for that. You see, when a child comes to school, the first thing you look at is that the child is coming from the home, and there are things that the child is familiar with at the home before coming to school. And so the transition must be made in such a way that the child will be comfortable when the child comes to school. And so we normally have the concept called the concentric approach, which means that you start with the child from the known to the unknown. When we say known, the things that the child knows already. So, for example, the child understands his or her mother's, understand the mother tongue. The child is familiar with activities and pictures at the home. So you realize that anytime the child comes to school, those are the things that we start the child with, so that the transition from the home to the school will be smooth. The child should appreciate that I am in school, but in as much as I am in school, the school is not different from my home, because I have come here to deal with matters that have to, or the matters that affect home. So that is all. That is all, and that is the reason why the mother tongue was deployed, or has been deployed since time immemorial. to create that smooth transition from home from home to school, and to make the child comfortable and to help the child to understand that at the end of the day, education about how to master your own environment and deal with the things around you, and how you can explore the things in your own environment to the best of your own ability, to the benefit of the community and the nation at large. So that is why we deploy the mother tongue.
I remember Miss Alice Kufalo, nursery teacher, my nursery teacher, Strategy and Shindi Basic School, did just that, spoke Ewe or Dangbe sometimes to us because we had just started. However, I also remember that they used to write names of vernacular speakers. At what point did things change then? Because if you say it's been there for decades, then when did we start criminalizing, and I'm using criminalizing advisedly, in the schools? Because it appears that that's what the government is trying to reset.
No, you see, I think the policy has been the same. So normally, up to P3, at P3, you use the mother tongue to communicate, to teach the child and all that. But from P4, it changes. The mother tongue now becomes the subject. Then you use the English language, or which is official language, as a medium of communication. That is all.
Okay, so the lower primary, which is nursery to class 3 or P3, is where the mother tongue is supposed to be used. There are a few issues around that. So what percentage of the communication should be mother tongue and what percentage should be English, which is our lingua franca?
From the KG to primary 3, it's 100% use the mother tongue. Like I have said, look, there are areas where we don't have KG. We don't have KG, but we have the primary 1 to 3. Like I have said, is to create a smooth transition from the home to the school. Because when the child comes to school first, and you start with English, believe me, when the child goes home, the child will not come again. But when the child comes to the school, and the child should hear the teacher speak the language that the mother or the parents have been speaking to him, or the language that he understands at home, the child will say, oh, after all, there is no difference. I speak this language back home, and I'm speaking it at the school. But by primary 4, you move on. Then the mother tongue now becomes the subject. Then the medium of instruction becomes English. But you don't criminalize it.
Okay.
Gone are the days where you say, you write the names of those who speak vernacular. No, these days we don't do all those things. Because when a child doesn't understand the concept, you don't punish the child that the child doesn't understand.
Okay.
Gone are the days, it's like talk about dictation, mental, 1 to 10, dictation 1 to 10, and all those things. Those things are gone. You don't punish a child because the child doesn't understand the concept. If a child doesn't understand the concept, you must reteach it. That is all.
What about dealing with communities with multiple languages? So, what language is a mother tongue really? Is it the mother tongue of the teacher or the mother tongue of the child? And if it's the mother tongue of the child, which of the children? If you are 50 in class, which language should be used? Should the teacher speak to each student or each pupil with their language or in their language? How would you reconcile and deal with that? Because that again is another challenge.
That is the difficulty. Because when you have multilingual community, and let's say you have every people from the Kasina, Nankana, from the Bulsa area, Ashanti, Fanti, all of them together, you realize that in the class, when you take a sample size, let's say out of the class of 50, you will see that only if you pitch down like this, it will surprise. In some areas, you will see that only about 10% can speak that language, or about 20% or 30% can speak Chi. Others also can speak other languages. So to call a specific language a mother tongue and stand upon it and teach becomes difficult. It's really difficult. And so this mother tongue issue, it depends upon the area where you are, and it depends upon the kind of community you find yourself in. Then you look at it and then you determine how to apply the policy. Otherwise, you will go to an area where you will say, oh, if you have, let's say, about only 10% in your class that understand the Ewe language, and you speak the Ewe, what happens to the 90%? So that is the difficulty. So in that particular instance, the headmaster of the school, we need to find a balance. What kind of language, how best can, or what can best be done to make sure that all the 50 people in that particular classroom benefit from the mother tongue, but benefit from the best medium of communication to ensure that the transition is smooth from the home to the school.
All right. Finally, before you go, another conversation that is making people talk has to do with the haircut policy. The government has insisted that your hair must be cut low when you enter secondary school. It has been a big debate on social media. What's the position of your association?
We 100% support the minister.
Why?
In fact, the minister has done excellently well by the way he explained all the things. Let me tell you something. In this country, we have seen Otofista. In this country, we have seen Rasta. And there are many things. In fact, we have even seen Apuskeleke. We have seen all those kind of dresses before. And parents rose up that we cannot allow these things in our schools. Look, if dressing is not important, then those in the marketing business, they should tell us. Is packaging important or not important? The way we pack, why do we spend so much money in packaging? Why? It's important. So please, when you are going to school, dress to meet the specific purpose for which you are going. Why are we not talking about the way people dress at the military when they are recruits? Why don't we talk about their dressing? The police people, why won't you talk about the way they dress?
The argument is the argument is
why
made.
would you talk about the way they dress?
The argument is made that knowledge is not in the hair, and the case of Tyrion Maguire comes up, where the courts of the land held that he was free to keep his dreadlocks on, and he graduated with beautiful results. And so, the opponents of the policy are saying, leave the hair alone, and that knowledge is not from the hair but from the head.
Umaru, I am paid, teachers, we are paid to do three things. We give students knowledge. Number two, we give them training, character training. That is what we call the affective domain. That is the heart. Then we train their hands. Okay, and aside that, we grew them to be fit for purpose. And so education is not only about knowledge.
But which of these things that you mentioned covers hairstyle?
I'm coming there. When you are educating, you educate a total being. If you look at courtesy for boys and girls, when we went to school, it is everything about you, the human being. And as to how you live in society, your dressing, the way you greet, the way you eat at table manners, and even the way you sit in a vehicle and everything, all these things are taught.
Times have changed though, Musa. That was your time was O level. Times have changed now. Gen Z period.
Let me give you an example. Let me cite this example on your show. Look, I visited this friend of mine, and they came from Europe. And the father sent the son, to go and fetch water. And the boy replied, "Daddy, don't you have legs? Daddy, don't you have legs?" And I said, "What?" And I said, "Master, why?" And the man said, "Oh, I should not worry." How can your son tell you the father, don't you have? Is that what you want in Ghana? Please. Laws, and every society has its own rules and regulations. We have our culture here. And so when you go to our schools and you are asked to keep your head down, the minister has done well. Let us all support him. And like I said, packaging is very, very important. That is why millions of cedis are spent by the marketers to tell us our products are to be sold. So please, we cannot allow Autofista, we cannot allow Apuskeleke, we cannot allow those things to happen. And so also the haircut must be cut down.
Very well.
And if you know that you cannot abide by that, please, you can train your child in the home. Let parents support the schools to get these things done.
Okay. Thank you so much for speaking to us, sir.
Thank you. God bless you.
God bless you too. That's Thomas Musa, his General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, GNAT. Let's hear from someone